Zeroing in on Bitcoin a bit, I do think that at this point, it's safe to say that its next milestone is gold, right? It is, I think the narrative is pretty firmly established. It is being invested in that way as a hedge against central banking or expansionary monetary policy. And it's being evaluated based on its monetary properties, which is what made gold gold, right? So I do think that, and let's call gold a $10 trillion market, but it's also highly suppressed. Central banks own 20% of the supply. They have a number of schemes that they use, the London Gold Pool, et cetera, to actively suppress that price to defend their currencies from direct competition. So who knows what that real number is, but say it's 10 trillion. That's, I think, the next milestone for Bitcoin. I don't know that it will be in this cycle. Like, I still expect Bitcoin to continue to move to these price cycles of kind of having boom, excessive FOMO bust. But I think by the, call it the 2028 to 2030 peak, it should be there. It should be at or beyond gold. And from there, I would say argue maybe even before there, kind of in that 4 trillion market cap range, we start talking about the Tulevian minority rule, where it starts to impose its rule set on the majority, basically, because, as we know, the rules of Bitcoin are totally obstinate, totally intolerant. And whatever that magic number is, call it 4% of global market cap of money, around 100 trillion. So if it's $4 trillion, I think things they start to accelerate in a really interesting way. And you might see prior patterns become less relevant. And the other thing I think is that, to me, the value proposition, although you have to dig very deep, and you have to approach Bitcoin from first principles to understand it. Like, you have to understand what made gold money, that it was the most divisible, durable, recognizable, portable, and scarce technology in the world. That's why people chose gold as money. And when you see that Bitcoin is superior across all 5 monetary properties, I think smart money is going to land on that. Like, I can spit out that whole value prop in 30 seconds. I don't think smart money is going to let this thing get away from them. So when Bitcoin breaks $100,000, whatever the psychological threshold is, that it really reaffirms itself, that it's here to stay, it's not going away, and people are paid to figure out what the fuck it is and where it's going, they're going to start evaluating our work. And I think if you dig deep enough, you land on that bedrock, that from a first principle standpoint, Bitcoin is the best monetary technology we've ever had, and it is potentially disruptive to gold. And when that realization starts to dawn on people and smart money, like, I don't know, it's going to be really interesting. And Bitcoin, another thing, we didn't touch on it today, but it's super collateral, right? It's encumbered, it's a bearer asset, so just by holding it, it's unencumbered. It's 24/7 liquid. There's no title search. There's no legal anything. And then you couple that with, you mentioned Texas earlier, with all this excess energy production. It's like any jurisdiction that's in that situation can now monetize that energy directly and anonymously. So there's going to be this huge demand as people wake up to government overreach. I think you'll see people entering Bitcoin mining markets and then using it as collateral to fund myriad other business models. There's an old, I think it's a Jewish axiom where it talks about wealth allocation, and it basically says you should have a third of your wealth in cash, a third of your wealth in your business, a third of your wealth in land. And if you look at Bitcoin in that respect, that it really could become cash. Like, that could become our definition of cash. And that could be it for all time. Like, it's a call option on the productivity for the rest of history. I mean, that's a really big deal. It's a $100 trillion market-ish today. Who knows what it is going down the road. And when you combine that with governments that are going to become increasingly overreaching, and Bitcoin is this one property right that's, I call it imprescriptible, which means it cannot be taken away prescriptively. Like, it's the one asset you can own, one property right you can have that no government can take away from you. I think the demand is just going to surge. So I don't know what that time frame is. I don't know how long it takes people to realize it. I've tended to be more bullish in the past, but I think it will happen. The free market finds truth.